Welcome to People Think About It. Delve into the world of relationships, business, and politics with hosts Lamar Clark, Dorshell Clark, and Dominique Hagler on People Think About It, where thought-provoking discussions abound.
Hey, welcome back to People Think About It. We got a guest in the house today, Miss Audery, and we were just going to go do part 2 of what's more important to you, the spiritual, the mental, or the physical. And I know that, if you only can choose one, we kind of already figured out that they're kind of connected. But if someone approach you and asks you what's more important, your spiritual, your mental, or your physical, and you only have to choose one, I chose my spiritual. But we know other people may feel different and look a little different. So we're going to just have a little chat session about what is more important to you. And remember, nobody's wrong. If you pick your physical, then that's what's more important to you. If you pick your mental, that's what's more important to you. If you pick your spiritual, that's what's more important to you. But we're going to get into a little bit about why my spiritual may be important, and whether your mental or your physical may be important. So we're going to ask our guests, if you only can choose one, which one would that be? Your spiritual, your mental, or your physical? And explain.
For me, it's definitely my mental, because I know that mentally, if you're not able to think about things clearly, you really can't make really good decisions. To me, I don't see myself being able to connect on a higher spiritual level if I can't even think on a higher or spiritual level, because everything starts in the mind. I remember a long time ago, I read a book called Think and Grow Rich. And it was so funny because at the very beginning of the book, it talked about there's a secret in this book that's going to make you rich, right? So I read the book 3 times looking for the secret. And towards the end of the 3rd time, I realized the whole secret was think and grow rich. That was the secret. But I was looking for this secret. I was looking for this thing. So I know that for me, if I can't think clearly about something, nothing else happens. Nothing. I was talking to someone earlier today, and I was telling them, when I'm trying to make stuff happen, if my mind is fogged up with life and things are going on around me, the things that I should be focused on, I can't focus on it because my mind is on other stuff. So I'm a spiritual person, but I know without me being able to think about things spiritually, without me being able to practice spiritual practices, and you have to think about that stuff. Meditation, that's thinking, that's spirituality to me. If my mind is so bogged up with just stuff, it's not going to happen for me.
Right. And like I said, nobody's wrong.
Yeah.
But when I speak about the spiritual realm, and when you think about the spiritual realm, is that you take the fleshly person out and look for guidance from the God that we pray to, or the God that you pray to, because the God that you pray to gives you a sound mind to be able to think through your chaos or whatever. He gives you the physical to be able to be strong enough to do or lift or do whatever you have to do that needs that physical. So, like I said, when you think about it, nobody's wrong, because I think when you put them all together, we need all of them to be complete. So, but in life, if you only can choose one, I chose the spiritual. And I chose the spiritual because, like I was explaining to some people, when you choose the physical or you choose the mental, you're thinking of the flesh more or less than the spiritual, because spiritually, remember, we're spiritual beings living in a fleshly body. So we're always looking for that higher power to guide us. But then I get what you're saying, that if I'm not mentally stable, then how can I even go to this higher power? Right. And when you do that, you're really thinking in the flesh and not thinking in the spirit, because you're a spiritual person first, because we are spirit living in the flesh.
We're all energy. We're all energy, right? And when I think about being able to think about stuff, it really has. I can't see me. So it's like, let's take this. So a brain dead person, they're brain dead, totally brain dead.
Okay.
Right. They can't talk. They can't hear.
But they still can be in the spiritual realm, because remember, that brain dead person or that dead person is just flesh.
Right.
It's just flesh. So from a humanistic standpoint, we're looking at the fleshly man, not the spiritual man.
In that case, that person could definitely be spiritual. We would never know.
Right, unless they told us. Yeah.
Right. But they can't tell us because they can't talk.
But
when I think about, because for me,
if it's based upon what you say, then they never could be mental or physical if they can't talk.
If they can't, if they're dead, if they're brain dead, they can't tell us where they at. We don't know. We're assuming that they're somewhere out there in the spiritual world. That's what we're assuming because we don't know, right? But when I'm sitting here talking to you, and I'm talking about spirituality, and I'm talking about trying to vibrate on a higher level, and if mentally I can't wrap my head around that means that I can't. Those things won't happen for me. Like I'm just gonna sit here and God gonna say you spiritual.
No,
and that's gonna help me. That's not gonna help me.
I totally, like I said, because I don't think anybody's wrong in this situation. Because I think that if we deal with that fleshly person, yeah, you got to be mentally competent to be able to comprehend what somebody's saying to you, what somebody's trying to deliver to you, whether it's spiritual or physical. If we go to the gym and you're mentally not there, no matter what I'm telling you, the physical,
absolutely,
you can't get it.
I agree with that.
You can't get it.
That's why mental for me is a first one. Like mental is first, and then second is spiritual, and then third is physical. Because if I can program my mind to believe these things, if I can meditate on these things, if I can create this spiritual life, then I can create the rest of that stuff.
Right.
But if I can't create, me personally, I can't see me creating a spiritual life without thinking about that. Right. Like I don't even know what that is without thinking about it. Like, what is that?
And then once you know...
Like, what is that for you? Like, spiritually?
Spiritually, for me, is that I believe there is a higher power.
I believe that.
I believe there is a higher power. I believe that when I have troubled times, I believe when I'm having physical times, I believe I can get in that space of prayer, and the God that I believe in stabilizes my mind and gives me the ability to think mentally from
So what is prayer if you're not thinking about it?
Pray because I think outside the flesh, because I think that where a lot of us get confused when we talk about spiritual or God, that we encounter the fleshly man, but remember we're a spirit living in a fleshly body. So what I'm saying is, it's just like how you were saying about meditation. Most people that meditate really deep tell you it's an experience where you leave your body. Mm-hmm. So if it's an experience where you leave your body, like you just said about a dead person or mentally a person that's laying there that's in a coma or whatever, we don't know what they're thinking. We don't know that person.
The key word is what you just said, thinking.
Right, but what I'm saying is, we still think from the fleshly standpoint, because that person told me, well, I was so deep in meditation, I lived the outer experience. So what is that outer experience? A spiritual experience. Right,
but they had to think about it.
Well,
they didn't just sit there and float away.
Well, we don't know, because unless you're into meditation.
But if you ask anybody to meditate, they will tell you it starts in here first. Right?
Right.
And you got transcendental meditation, where that's where you float out your body and all that stuff. But it's in the mind first. Like it's like this third eye right here. They talk about the third eye, right?
Right.
Activate your third eye; it'll take you anywhere you want to go. Right. But you got to activate it first.
Right.
And that's the pineal gland.
And that's what I'm saying. That's why I'm saying in this discussion, nobody's wrong, because because I get what you're saying, because you got to think, because we're dealing with fleshly beings. We're dealing with man concept, not God concept. So if you deal with God concept, then you eliminate the flesh. If you're dealing with, if you are that deep of a believer in God, whatever God you serve, you don't deal with the flesh, you deal with the spirit.
So how does that look, though? So you're a spiritual person, right? You say I'm a spiritual person. I deal from a spiritual perspective. And I guess for me, I just can't understand how to do that without being able to think about that.
It's just like they say, you're in the world, but you're not of the world.
Yeah, that's a biblical, that's some preacher saying thing, right? Right? Because it is.
But that's in the word. It's in
the word that a man wrote. So when you think about being a spiritual person, you're spiritual right now. And how do you activate your spirituality? You just sit here and say I'm spiritual, and then what happens after that? Because I don't. That's I guess for me that's the confusing part.
I would say for me, spirituality is more or less how people understand meditation. So it's having an outer body experience that, like I said, when you're going through trying times, you begin to pray, and in that prayer, because I think that one thing where people get twisted as, even in that prayer, right? You might be asking for something that's divine. You might be asking for something that's material. You might be asking for something that's physical or mental, right? Mm-hmm. And that it comes to you. So in other words, I could be looking for something, and the thing about it, people think it's going to fall out the sky. It's not going to fall out the sky. It's just not going to fall out the sky. But it comes to other people. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I think it comes to other people wisdom. I think it comes to other people. I believe in the spiritual realm, because I believe that we are fleshly people living in a spiritual realm. But even if you don't get it mentally, still, it's like almost somebody said they had a deja vu.
I mean, I get spirituality because I feel like I'm a spiritual person, but I believe that for me, in order for me to be spiritual, second, I have to be mental first. Like, I have to be able to think about things. I have to be able to think about what that looks like. I have to be able to think about how to clear my mind. I have to be able to think about how to close my eyes and meditate. I have to be able to think about that, because I can sit all day long and say I'm spiritual and want my eyes to close until I think about it and close them. They're not going to close.
Yeah, and then, like I said, then that's once that you do think about it and you begin to have that outer body experience,
right,
then you're more spiritual than mental, because now the spiritual being that you believe in is kind of taking over your fleshly being.
After I thought about it.
Well, yeah, I mean, after you thought about it, but like I said, and I will continuously say that through this program, that nobody's wrong.
Right.
Nobody's wrong. It's about what's more. If you only could choose one, which one would be more important to you?
Yeah.
So, people probably could sit here all day and debate about which one overtakes this one or that one over.
And I guess it really depends on you as a person.
And exactly, it depends on your person, because I'm quite sure the majority. Well, I would say in taking the survey, the majority of the people said they're spiritual over the mental and the physical.
I wonder, do they even know what that means? Right, because people say that stuff, and it sounds like a cool thing to say. Like, I'm spiritual over mental, but how do you know that? Like, how do you know you're spiritual? Because I think for me that's the confusing part. Like, I can't see how to be spiritual without being able to think on the spirit realm. Like, right. I just don't see it.
Because you have to put yourself there. You have to put yourself there. How do you do that
without thinking that way? You know what I'm saying? Like, do I levitate and just like that? Well, you know what I'm saying? How do you put yourself in the spirit realm
I think
without thinking about it?
And this is go back to what you say. I think that you have to believe there is a higher power.
I believe that.
Okay, so once you believe that there is a higher power, then you can put yourself in a space to elevate to that higher power or worship that higher power, which would take you out of the fleshly realm and put you in the spiritual realm.
How do I do that without thinking about it?
Because, I mean, just understanding how meditation works.
But you have to think when you meditate.
But we did say once you get into that point of meditation, when you say you left your body, then you off to that spiritual realm. We did say that.
No. I'm not arguing that, but no. Okay, so for
me, once you had that thought, and that thought took process over your fleshly being, and you had that outer body experience,
right?
You know what I mean?
I get it. The thought was first, though.
Yeah, well, I would say because we are fleshly beings, so I would say, like, you're going to have to think about something. Common sense would tell you have to think about something.
So that's why I picked mental first.
But in the same token, you can still say, well, my spiritual is more important to me than my mental or my physical. You know,
I mean, you could, yeah.
Because that's
not for me though, but yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, and like I said,
right,
it's not for everybody.
Right.
You know, it's just like you say. Some people say it because that's the cool thing to say.
Yeah.
Some people do it because they done heard it all their life. I mean, you could take a young child and put them in a room or put them in a space. I've seen this. Great example. You could take a young child, put them in church, and they see people whooping and hollering, and they duplicate what they see.
Or they repel it.
Right. So that does not mean that you some people are going to get it and some people are not going to get it. You know what I mean? Some people going to get it. It's just like when you go to the gym. Some people going to be able to pick up 140. Some people ain't never going to be able to pick up 140.
Never going to the gym.
And some people ain't never going to the gym. Some people will never reach that spiritual height. People are never.
Listen, don't be coming for me on this channel. I know I'm talking about me. I'm talking about y'all.
Look, but it's just like some people will never get it mentally.
They won't.
Some people won't never get it mentally.
I think for all of us, if we find wherever our place is in this world, we need to find one somewhere. We need to find our place in this world. Pick whatever modality, whatever path you want, and pick that, and then lean into that. Because I think a lot of times people are all over the place, or they trying to lean into your lane.
Right.
Get out of my lane. Get out of my lane. Get in your lane. I did a song. So I've been doing all these AI songs. It's called "Run a Mile in Your Own Shoes." Right? Because people want to be in other folks' shoes. Run a mile in your own shoes first.
Well, and I think that, for me, I think there are a lot of people that are followers and not leaders.
Absolutely, I agree.
You know, I think there's a lot of people that see, like even when we sit here and talk about the spiritual realm, there's people that's they're afraid to question the spiritual realm. Mm-hmm. So when you become afraid to question the spiritual realm, then you start believing anything somebody tell you. And
they think that the spiritual realm is not godly. Right. They feel like, it's just Jesus, and Jesus gonna come and say things. And I give you a prime example. I know we gotta wrap it up. People that are clear. So when I was about 20, I think I was about 23, right? And I hadn't had my daughter yet, so I was about 23. There was this woman came to the hospital. She was 88 years old. Her name was Nita Murphy, right? And she was clairvoyant. And she had to go down to CAT scan. I worked in X-ray. She had to go to CAT scan. And there was a guy who worked in CAT scan. His name was Stu. And she told him on her way to CAT scan, she told Stu, she said, you're going to have some surgery on the upper right-hand side of your mouth. And he was like, really? And he didn't think anything about it. Well, about a week later, he had the worst toothache, and they had to do surgery on the upper right-hand side of his mouth. When that happened, everybody went crazy. So everybody bombarded her room at the hospital, right? I was like, I'm afraid. But my aunt, who worked at the hospital, was up there all the time. She even went to the lady house when she came home. When she came to X-ray, this is my question to her. Am I going to get married and have kids? And she said, if you play the piano, will you get music? And I said, yes. She said, then that's your answer. What I realized at that point was that people look at psychics and they look at clairvoyant people and they said they're evil, they're witches, they're this. Those people are gifted, right? They're gifted. Now, if you want to talk spiritual, I believe that they have some kind of extra stuff going on. Well,
it's just like when biblically you talk about the Bible, God talked in parables, and he said, when I talk in parables, those who understand will get it, those that won't never understand.
And then he gave people gifts.
Right.
So I could never understand like how those people could be looked at as evil and sorcerers and all that. Why are they just not gifted?
Because there's some people that believe in witchcraft.
Right, but you don't. So you can believe in Jesus, but you can't believe that God gave this person a gift. Like he only gave one person a gift. That was Jesus. He didn't. John.
Well, we all
Moses.
And that could be for another topic. Yeah, but absolutely. It's just like I believe that once you know your purpose, you know your gift.
Maybe
because one thing is, and I want people to really hear this and understand this: purpose is never for self.
It's never for self, but
it's never ever for self.
I don't know if purpose and gift are the same though.
Well,
because I feel like you have a gift. I feel like we all have gifts. I have a ton of them.
Well,
I'm not saying that to brag, but I don't necessarily believe in my purpose. All of them.
Well, no, all of them, and that's the thing. We have a multitude of gifts, but we have one purpose.
I agree with that.
So once you find out your purpose is your gift, because like us, we are gifts. But what I'm saying is, we're entrepreneurs,
right?
And some things, it's just like Christmas Day. You can open a gift, but because somebody gave it to you, you're like, oh, that's nice. You're lying. You're lying to them. You're lying to yourself because you really don't like the gift. But what I'm saying is, it's still your gift.
It is.
So all the things that we know how to do, that's a gift that we have. All the things we have to do. But once we really, really narrow down to knowing our purpose, then we know what our true gift is.
True gift.
True gift.
True gift. That's the word.
Okay, so we'll use that word.
We'll use that because that's the real word. Because we got a bunch. I got a bunch of them. You got a bunch of them. We got a bunch of gifts.
And we got to know what our true gift is to know our purpose.
I like that.
Okay,
I can roll with that.
So like I said, nobody's wrong in this case, and if you have to, it's even a good conversation to sit around and have with your family.
You took the words out of my mouth because I feel like more people right now are trying to get to that point where they're spiritual. Right. They want to be spiritual. They want to have a closer relationship with God. They want to have a closer relationship with higher power. They want that. They just don't know how to go about it. Right. And for me, in the morning time, my quiet time. When I wake up in the morning, that's the best time for me to hear God say whatever He needs to say to me. Is that spiritual? Maybe
that's part of spirituality because you have to be in a solid place.
I'm quiet. I ain't thinking about nothing at that point. I'm just quiet and I hear all of this stuff.
There you go. So, like I said, all of it comes together.
Yep.
All of it comes together. But I think that it's a great idea from this podcast is to, hey, get together in a group and sit down and let's talk about this. You know what I mean? Let's talk about so we can get, because like the word says, and all you get understanding. Mm-hmm. So if you can get understanding about it and understand your purpose, understand your gift, understand, like you said earlier, don't say I'm spiritual just because it sounds good and it's the thing to say. Don't say mental because, everybody else around me saying mental, I'm saying mental. Don't say physical because you bulked up or you can lift the world. Search yourself. Search yourself deep down inside, because some of the things that you may want to be, you don't search for.
Yeah. And
you don't search deep enough. Because, we give up people. We people that give up real quick when something ain't going our way.
Yep.
But if you don't have, I can almost say this. Through doing entrepreneurship, trying to become a businessman and stuff like that, you have a lot of peaks and valleys.
Absolutely.
And if you quit, you might as well just go get a 9 to 5.
Yep.
Because you wake up tomorrow, you don't know what tomorrow may bring you.
And if you want to guarantee to fail, then you quit.
Yeah, you quit.
You quit. You want to guarantee a failure, quit. If you want to keep moving towards that success, whatever your success is, because everybody's is different, just like what we're talking about, it's all different. You got to keep going. There's so many times I want to quit. I'm like, I woke up yesterday morning like, what did I do this for? Right? But then I was like, oh, that's why I did it. And then I kept going. But when I look at the 9 things that was on my paper, I'm like, why did I do this one? Why did I start this one? Why did I do this one? And then I realized, okay, that's why I started that.
Right.
That's why I do the things we do. This is a great conversation, and I feel like the more we have these type of conversations, the better we're going to be as a world, because we're all connected.
Exactly.
We're all connected.
I believe.
And so the more good energy we put out in the world, it can counter some of that bad energy that's floating around. At least some of it. I don't know if we can ever do away with it all, but there's and we're gonna wrap. I'm sorry, our producer's looking at us like, wrap it up. There is I don't know if it's a woman out there. Her name is Dolores Cannon.
Okay.
And she talks about us being on the new earth. And she talks about the whole spirituality. It's amazing. Like, it's fascinating. Like, I listen to it all the time. But it's like we're in this new place. And you can kind of tell because certain things are just happening. Like, what's happening right now? It's because we're going through a shift. And it's the weirdest thing. But like you said, only the people that can see it. Right. Everybody can't see it.
Everybody can't see it.
I put stuff in my family chat. They think I'm crazy. I be like, look, y'all need to go out and get these power generators. I started talking all that stuff in the family chat, and I know they be thinking she is nuts. But I see these things. I can see them. I feel them. So
well,
this is
you look at what just happened with the airports. But anyway, we're gonna wrap it up because the producers over there losing it. So I want to say this. For all you guys that's tuned in and your subscribers, please subscribe. Please hit the subscribe button. Do people think about it? But get together with a group of people and just have this conversation.
Yeah.
Tell them to pick one. We all say that all of them come together eventually. But just tell them to pick one to see what kind of vibe you get out of people. If you'd like to be a guest to carry on this conversation, go to peoplethinkaboutit.com and fill out a profile sheet. And we'll welcome you to the show to keep this conversation going. Because like Audery said, I think that once you keep certain conversations going, you project that positive energy out there. Mm-hmm. And, we can start coming together as people, because I think that through all the social media, the phones, the computers, and we getting disconnected virally, computer-wise. We don't know how to be human beings anymore. Yep. You know what I mean? You can't even remember somebody's phone number unless you pick up the phone.
Sure can.
So let's reconnect. Please keep listening to People Think About It. Go to peoplethinkaboutit.com. You can check us out on YouTube at People Think About It. You can go to our website at peoplethinkaboutit.com. You can go there, click on donations, and if you donate more than $25, you'll get a People Think About It t-shirt. Okay. You can go there, like I said, and you can fill out to become a guest on the show. So we just want to thank you guys for listening to People Think About It, and keep on listening. And we're going to have a good show, and y'all come on.
People Think About It. Be sure to subscribe to the show and share it with your friends so that you never miss an episode. A new episode drops every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Thank you for listening.